Hello everybody, so here is Black Angel again and I'm here with a video request. No, I don't take video requests normally, but this one specifically made sense to me because this video is, as you can see in the title, about ISTJs. So why did a video request about ISTJs make sense to me? Because I never talk about this type and it makes sense to actually start talking about it. So ISTJs. Let's disrupt some stereotypes. There's not so many stereotypes to disrupt about ISTJs actually, but one makes sense to be mentioned. ISTJs are often described as kind of monkey type, when, as a matter of fact, ISTJs are anything but a monkey type. I suspect the reason why this monkey type thing started spreading is that ISTJs kind of bark at you when they're talking. It's like they're not controlling their external outcome at all. Like they're not caring what they look like to you. They can see themselves from the outside, as every TE type can, but they do not care that they look unfriendly. That's something they do not care about. Differently from an INTJ type that sees themselves from outside. And even though they do not care about being friendly, they still have this introverted intuition helping them looking slightly friendlier. So INTJs slightly more difficult to spot because they won't bark at you. Whereas ISTJs are their extrovert feeling is their utmost weakest function. And therefore they kind of look like they are a little, not aggressive, but kind of barking at you. So that probably spread this monkey type stereotype, when, as a matter of fact, ISTJs are actually the most spiritual of sensing types. Not the only one, the most spiritual. I have met ESFPs that are spiritual. I have met other types anyway that are spiritual. The least spiritual one is going to be the ESTP. The most spiritual one is the ISTJ. We're talking sensing types. The ISTJ is an ENTP's perfect match. Yeah, I know you guys don't believe that, but I don't care. So, yeah, ISTJs is the ENTP's perfect dual, and if you've met any ENTPs, the ENTP is probably the most idealistic of all types. You cannot get along with an ENFP. Sorry, you cannot get along with an ENFP and not be spiritual at all. You gotta have at least an inclination towards spirituality. And that's what an ISTJ actually has. I'm not sure where it is hidden. I have this idea in my mind that it might be having to do with introverted feeling, being the tertiary function of an ISTJ. INTJs are also kind of spiritual, and it's not related to their introverted intuition. It kind of is. They're intuitives. Intuitives tend to have the spiritual streak, and introverted intuition dominant is the utmost spiritual of all functions. Still, I think there's a big contribution from introverted feeling here, which is the feeling that the function, that focuses on internal feelings. And when you focus on your internal feelings, you need something to kind of organize them. So even though the ISTJ may not be the most introverted, the most internally oriented of introverts, they still have this kind of spiritual streak. So let's start talking about functions. Introverted sensing. Introverted sensing is the body function. And when we're talking about body function, I'm meaning that that's the function that focuses on the personal individual perception of sensory stimuli. So when you touch velvet, for example, some people have this negative, I'm sorry, I'm checking my cat that is trying to jump down. Okay. So when you're touching velvet, I was saying, some people have a negative feeling about that kind of touch. Some other people instead love that kind of touch. I've met a lot of people that hate touching velvet, and I always wonder what the hell is wrong with them. Why do they even care about that? And then I learned about different kinds of attitudes towards different things. I was a kid and I was wondering about that, obviously. And yeah, so now that I know functions, I know that's an introverted sensing matter. So introverted sensing is about your personal perception of physical sensation and storing the memory of such sensation. So an introverted sensing dominant type, specifically an ISTJ, has this innate ability, inborn ability to sense things and to store their personal sensations about things, both negative and positive. So extrovert feeling vulnerable types have this tendency to store the negative above the positive. We're talking about INTJs and ISTJs. So that's because these two types prefer to focus on what can be improved and about moods and sensations and feelings and everything, rather than on what is already good. So they do not see themselves as pessimists, and they're probably not as pessimists as they are depicted out there. So let's disrupt another stereotype. So they're not as negative as they are depicted out there, but they still have this focus on what needs to be improved rather than what is already good. So I know an ISTJ, for example, that remembers every negative feeling he had when he fell from the bike, when as a child, when he broke a leg, when he hurt himself in any possible way. And that makes him extremely careful about all the kind of stuff. He's even paranoid. That's something that he leaves to avoid or to reduce to a minimum negative physical sensations. And an ISTJ is the kind of type that leaves to reduce to a minimum any negative physical sensations. So as you can see, the ISTJ will never see themselves as a negative type or someone that looks at things with a pessimistic outlook, but they will look pessimistic from outside. Exactly for this reason, that they need to reduce negative physical experience to a minimum for themselves and for anyone that they love. Now, that's kind of funny because that's going to make very difficult to figure out who is an ISTJ and who is not. And you're going to have to look, if they're married, that's going to be easy because you're going to focus on their wife and their children, possibly one over another. ISTJs and INTJs can have preferences. They can, because they have difficulties bonding. Both types have strong difficulties bonding with others. So an ISTJ has strong difficulties bonding, so their introverted sensing is going to focus on those people with whom they've managed and they succeeded in bonding, which is normally on the other side to build. Extrovert thinking in the second position. Difference between an INTJ and an ISTJ is going to be that the INTJ is going to focus on the future, whereas the ISTJ is focused on the present. So What does it mean? It means that the ISTJ is going to figure out every possible way to be at the best possible efficiency level here and now. Data here and now, facts here and now, information available here and now. How can I use this information, apply this information? Organization of the external world also is a very strong focus in ISTJs. So an ISTJ is going to be the kind of person that has everything organized around the house, that knows exactly where every single thing is. Typical ISTJ extreme is going to be in Friends, the dark-haired girl that keeps everything in check and everything organized at home, and that cannot see anything move. That's probably even an ESTJ, so focused she's on order. But yeah, cleanliness, order, keeping everything organized. That's an ISTJ's area of creativity. It's something that they relax with. So I worked with an ISTJ once, and we were in the same position in the company, and she used to say, "Oh my God, you don't want to do that kind of job? Let me do that, because that's something that I really enjoy. It relaxes me." And that was like organizing the inventory, all the files, paper files, or organizing files and orders and everything. She enjoyed organizing things, whereas I did not. And yeah, also this is something, it's not that every TE type enjoys that. That's an ISTJ typical thing. Other TE types like ENTJs, for example, have a more future-oriented kind of use of extroverted thinking. So they're more focused on what will be and what is going to be in the future rather than what is now. Also, ISTJs are extremely active. They have a sensing in them that helps them being extremely active, as opposed to INTJs who are actually extremely lazy. So an ISTJ may find a way to be organized here and now because they're too lazy to do it again in the future. Whereas an ISTJ will find the way to do it here and now because they want it to be effective and efficient here and now. So as you can see, one is proactive, the other one is lazy as fuck. Anyway, yeah. Moving on. Introverted feeling tertiary. Introverted feeling tertiary means that these people are not the most empathetic of types. They're not empathetic at all. Like I said at the beginning, disrupting the stereotype, ISTJs have a tendency to kind of bark at you, and they are also not that tactful when it comes to feelings. The ISTJ is actually the type that is normally said by some sociologists, some experts. It is said to be the type that is the closest to the ESTP when you look at it from outside. So they can be confused one with the other because both of them has this very business-like attitude, and they are both focused on things that kind of hide their type. And they're kind of barky, both of them. So ESTPs enjoy hurting people to figure out who they are. ISTJs do not enjoy hurting people. They actually hate hurting people's feelings, and it weakens their self-esteem to do that kind of mistake. But they do not have the tools to avoid doing that. So lacking extrovert feeling means you're not the friendliest of types, and it makes it difficult to relate to others. A lot of people take things according to how they tell them, how you tell them, sorry. If you tell someone something that is painful and you do not use the right kind of tact, they are going to take it very, very bad. And that makes the lives of INTJs and ISTJs extremely difficult. Although I have to say that ISTJs have probably the hardest time. Yeah, that's... I'm thinking about a difference between the ESTP and the ISTJ. But I think that's probably something that only someone with a strong introverted intuition will notice. An ESTP is going to be hostile for the sake of it. So they're going to be hostile with specific people because probably they don't like them, or they don't feel like being kind to that kind of person, or they don't get the right feedback when they attempt to be kind. So that makes them hostile with specific kinds of people or with specific people. So you will see that as much as an ESTP is going to tell you that they treat everybody equally, they won't. People they like more, they're going to treat better. People they like less, they're going to treat worse. And that's because they have this weak extrovert feeling and they apply it when they're kind of reminded it exists. So if they're having to do with an INTJ, for example, they're probably going to use it because of that strong introvert intuition that they feel that they need. And therefore, that makes them kinder to an INTJ, but it's not necessarily so. If they meet an ISTJ or an INTP, an INTP or an INFP who do not give them anything that they require and who do not give them the feedback they need, they're probably going to be extremely hostile. That's an ESTP. Whereas the ISTJ, on the other hand, is equally barking at anyone. So that's something that you can notice about an ISTJ. The ISTJ does not show their preferences. So if they're barky, they're going to be barky. If they're hostile, they're going to be hostile. If they're kind, they're going to be kind. Whatever state of mind they are in, they're not going to show it externally. Their feelings about people do not show externally. They're probably going to be afraid that these feelings show and that they are going to show differences in how they treat people. They're probably going to be concerned about that, but not tell you. That's the strong difference between introverted feeling and extroverted feeling. One type focuses everything on what they want to show externally, and they are probably going to be upset, the ESTP. They're going to be upset if you tell them that they're not succeeding in being equally kind to everyone, as an INFJ instead would be. Whereas the ISTJ, on the other hand, is going to be upset if anyone sees who they have preferences for. So they're probably going to do everything in their power to hide their feelings about anything. They're never going to talk about that. Also extroverted feeling weak types, INTJs and ISTJs, but I'm going to introduce here also ENTJs and ESTJs, these types that have very weak extroverted feeling and that do not value extroverted feeling are going to be extremely cold, and they're going to have this extremely cold external outlook. They are warm in the inside, cold on the outside. Extrovert feeling is warmth, external warmth. So an INFJ is going to be warm outside, cold inside. An INTJ is going to be warm inside, cold outside, and the same works for ISFJs and INTJs. INTJ is going to be warm out inside and cold outside. The ISFJ is going to be warm outside and cold inside. Well, probably the possible only exception will be the ESFJ, The ESFJ is a kind of weird type. They tend to be truly caring about whatever they say in some kind of way, but I'm not sure about that. Anyway, they look like they do care about people, about anyone, but that's kind of like their kind of love looks to me like the spiritual kind of love that is described by Christianity. Like you have to love everyone equally, and you have to make no differences, and you have to love to until the end of the world, and back. That's their kind of love, how it looks to me, at least. Anyway, back to ISTJ. Sorry, I'm digressing. Last function is extroverted intuition. Extroverted intuition last means that they have some kind of difficulties with the programming and planning the future. I know you're gonna think now we're talking introverted intuition. That's what. No, that's the two intuition always work in a tandem. And having extrovert intuition last means that when an ISTJ plans something, like they want to achieve a goal, like they want to sell that kind of product, so they start a campaign following those steps, and they're going to follow those steps step by step. If something goes wrong in the middle, they're going to be unable to recollect their thoughts and start over again. So that's something specific to ISTJs and ISFJs. That's their issue. They need help whenever something disrupts their planning. They're going to need help, and they're going to need external support, because that's where their logic cannot help them. They kind of get stunned. They are stunned in front of things not going as they should, and they have this huge problem reorganizing and restarting from where they've left, which at first I thought was due to weak introverted intuition, but ESTVs actually have an easier time with that. They can reorganize themselves through their dominant function. ESFPs also. They reorganize themselves through their dominant function. They want to get there. Their will is so strong that makes them move. So yeah, it's not about introverted intuition, actually. It's rather about extroverted intuition. Extroverted intuition gives you a fan of opportunities and different kinds of expectations of reality, and it gives you a kind of fan of solutions. This kind of set of solutions available, and that's what an ISTJ actually lacks. They do not have this fan of opportunities open in front of them. Therefore, when they choose an opportunity or a chance or a path, they need that thing to fucking work, because otherwise it's gonna be a problem. So yeah, that's their vulnerability, their weakest function, the function in which they need help, something they're gonna care about. So they're probably going to get attached to people around them who have the ability instead to change path on the spot, like this, like things are not going all right, we're going the other way. That's an ENFP, and ENFP rocks at that. TI vulnerable types, weak TI doesn't organize anything, almost anything. So they're basically leaving on impulse, and that makes it easier for them, especially for ENFPs, to change route while they're going. Other types do that too, like I said, ESTPs, for example, are one of those types that takes decisions as they go. But that's actually more typical of these two types of ENTJs, of ENFPs and ESFPs. The ESFP is probably the least organized and the most unpredictable of all types. Anyway, yeah, to close this video about ISTJs, where I made a salad of comparisons with any type that came to mind, I can say something about their types, their enneagram types, sorry. Potential enneagram types. I'm thinking, when I think of an ISTJ, perfection and stuff like that, the first thing that comes to mind is perfectionism. They have this strong focus on being organized and effective and efficient here and now, and also this focus on being ethically and morally upright. So Enneagram 1 is my first thought when I think about ISTJs and ESTJs also. So Enneagram 1 is a type that I actually pair with ISTJ a lot. Other ideas, Enneagram 5 probably is a good match. Yeah, I made peace with a strong TI and Enneagram 5. So I can say that ISTJs could be an Enneagram 5. What else? Let me think. I don't see them being very Enneagram 6 type. That's probably one of the least possible types. They are sensing types, so they are focused on the external world. They do not fear the external world that much. But yeah, I suppose I wouldn't exclude it completely, not the least. I'm going to contradict myself on this one. They're not the least likely to be an Enneagram 6, but also not most likely. What other types? I'm not coming up with many types about them because I have this strong feeling about Enneagram 1 with working well with the ISTJ kind of mentality. Enneagram 8 probably is also another type they could be. Enneagram 8 works well with the Delta Quadrant types. So ESTJs and ISTJs, for those of you who don't know the quadras. So yeah, I think this is basically everything I have about this type, and I'll close this here, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.